So before going to start my topic, let me introduce myself. As Shreya told that I am Umar Safdar. I did my MBA in 2013 from SOM, and later on in 2016 I did my PhD with the supervision of Dr. Badir. At that time, my focus was innovation. And when I came back to Pakistan, I started serving government of Pakistan and public sector university and government institution. And I closely attached with the ecosystem, entrepreneurial ecosystem of Pakistan, and I became the mentor at many incubation centers, entrepreneurship incubation centers in Pakistan. And I did a project for Higher Education Commission Pakistan in the incubation center. And during that time, we found that despite the heavy investment of time, mentorship, financial resources, and other resources, we are not getting as expected results as what we were expecting. So we revisit our policies and everything, and we thought that there is some fundamental uh, mismatch between our policies and on ground practices. Luckily, we came up with the concept of effectual entrepreneurship coined by the Saraswati, and she gave this concept of effectual entrepreneurship, and we started implementing this rule in Pakistan, and suddenly the results start becoming positive. I must say it's not as per expected, but we are expecting, but still the signs are very positive, and we are hoping that it will change the landscape of ecosystem, entrepreneurial ecosystem in Pakistan. So when AIT announced this graduate club and they started Alumni Talk series, I found this an opportunity to share what we have learned in 4 to 5 years in Pakistan regarding the entrepreneurial ecosystem, and thanks to AIT that today we are sharing this. But before starting, I will like to alert all of you that whatever you have studied in your undergraduate or graduate level in the business school, that traditional wisdom of entrepreneurship, this presentation is going to shock you. At first, you might say what Dr. Umar is saying. It's totally opposite what we have already learned in the business school. But at the end of this session, I am very much confident that when we will correlate these concepts with the industrial practices, you will say, okay, this concept is not new. It's in practice from last 2 centuries, and it's a very much practical approach. And yeah, it's bit different and opposite, somehow opposite to what you have learned as a traditional wisdom of entrepreneurship, which we call Oswald method. So let me start with this. Suppose in 2018, you started your business, you got an idea, a very comprehensive idea in which it has a very feasible market share. You did the market analysis, you know that the market exists for this idea, and you are very much positive. And the next thing, what will you start doing? And the next thing you will start doing is start writing the business plan, writing your mission statement, SWOT analysis, timeline, each and everything you will start. And you make a strategic plan for next 10 to 15 years. I'm talking about 2018. So you are planning for year 28 or 29 or year 2030. And all of a sudden in year 2020, COVID virus comes up. I can bet no one can have predicted that this is going to happen in 2020. Can anyone predicted it before? Can anyone claim here that he predicted this COVID virus in 2018?
No, no.
So what about all your planning which you did for the next 20 years in 2018? They all are in vain. They are vanished. So we can say that you cannot predict your future. You cannot predict your future. If you cannot predict your future, how you are going to control your future? I repeat, if you cannot predict your future, the COVID example is with us, how you are going to control it. So if you cannot predict and control, so what about all the business planning you have done? And that's the reason majority of the startups in developing countries like Pakistan, Thailand, Malaysia, Bangladesh, India, Nepal, Sri Lanka, they fail. The failure rate of startups in these developing countries or underdeveloping countries is quite higher, even it's up to 98% in some cases. So why they fail? There are many fundamental questions about this, and the answer of this is the effectual entrepreneurship. So we coming back to the slide. So you have write a business plan and you have write the marketing plan, financial plan, competitors, team management, HR planning, everything you have done. So the next step to start a business to get the finances. And the major challenge in our country is startups fails to get the proper funding for their startups. And even if they get the funding from the angel investors or whatever financial sources is this, they don't come up with their expected returns, and ultimately they end up within 2 to 3 years as a failure. So if even if you are lucky enough to raise a lot of money and you start and build and growing and something happens like COVID-19, you again get a fail. So what to do in that condition? And you go for IPO you or you go for sell out your business and you start an other venture. So is it the solution? No, because what you are trying to do is you are trying to shake the world. I remember when first time I presented my model, research model to Dr. Badir, my research supervisor during my PhD, he said, listen Umar, don't try to shake the world with your thesis. Just find a simple problem and come up with a very innovative solution. That will be enough your PhD and you will have a very long career, so you can shake the world later on, but at this time take a limited calculated risk because you have limited time and limited resources. And his advice worked. I completed Alhamdulillah my PhD within my given time. So this is the same advice I give to all startups in Pakistan and sometimes online sessions with other countries, developing countries like Umar. So I give them this advice that don't try to predict too much, don't focus for too much future, just focus what you have. And the answer is lies of all these questions is in effectual theory. Okay, so how many of you want to be an entrepreneur? Shreya, can you please unmute uh, participants?
You can raise your hands.
Okay, Afzal Jamil said he wants. Who else? Iram Sabah, Rehan Shokar. Okay, so they all want to become an entrepreneur, but as I know, three of you, uh, you are not an entrepreneur right now. You are doing your regular jobs. So when I ask my students or my colleagues that why don't you want to become an why you want to become an entrepreneur, but what's the thing which are failing you? So sometimes they said the lack of business idea. They said we are too much busy with our family time, with job, so we don't have the time for the entrepreneurship. Sometimes they say that we don't have the resources, sometimes lack of experiences, high risk, and for the female entrepreneurship, that is the family support. Even after getting married, if I want to invest too much for an entrepreneurial venture, I have to think about my family as well. So there are many reasons which people raises. Uh, Someone wants to speak, I think. Okay. If is there any question, you can raise the question in between. So I want to make it more interactive and two-way communication rather than just one-way communication and you wait till the end. You can start discussing in between the presentation. And this is a basically 8-week course which we offer. and I'm trying to sum up it in within 40 minutes because she is very strict. She said not even a single minute after 40 minutes. So you may have many questions, so you can discuss in between. Okay, so these are the reasons people want to become entrepreneurs, but because of these constraints, and the constraints is not limited to these 6 to 7 reasons. If there are a lot of reasons, but these 6 to 7 reasons are very common answers which I usually get from my students or participants and my colleagues even. So the one thing that they said is highly risky to become an entrepreneur in the environment of Pakistan. And sometimes they said we don't have the money. Sometimes they have lack of support from their family. So these are a lot. There are a lot of reasons. So I always give them an advice that instead of going for the causal logic in which you try to predict and control the future, go for effectual logic. It means you don't need to control the future. Let the future control you. Let ride the tide of the future. Be adaptive. So question is how do you control a future if you cannot predict it? Answer lies with this statement that work what you already have. Don't look for the resources from the outside. If you don't have, don't go the financing from the bank. Don't go for the angel investment. Don't go for the family support. Start whatever you have in your hand. Don't wait for the finances to come. And control the future and control the environment is come to the co-create the future. Make your team, make your own stakeholders. And if you look at these the case studies of Transparency International, eBay, Starbucks, Lemmon Bank, they, if you study their case studies, I have their case studies, we usually share with our students. So if you look and read them carefully, then you will say that, yeah, what they have done, it's totally opposite what we have studied in our business school. They never waited for the resources to come. They never waited the right time to come. They never waited, they never took a very high risk. They all started with a very small investment, like a snowball, and keep rolling it until it's become a giant. And when it becomes a giant, then you can control the future or you can predict the future. But at the startup stage, at the very early stage, I again repeat that look at the case studies of these Khan Academy, very good example from I think Bangladesh. He started from a very small YouTube channel and it's now earning millions of dollars in a year. And same is to the eBay. And then we have a Lemmon Bank from again from Bangladesh. Then we have the example of from Japan about the paper company, Nine Dragon Paper Company. So we will discuss these examples in upcoming slides as well. And we have the case studies if you want, I can share with you. And beside these, we have many more local companies as case studies with us. So if you cannot control the or predict the future, start to co-create the future. Co-create means find the right partners for you and start with whatever you have in your hand. Don't wait for the resources to come. Don't wait for the right people to come. Don't wait to the right time. Just start whatever you have in your hand. So this is called the effectual. So if you keep prediction of a future on one hand and control of the future as a separate thing in other hand, there are four strategies which are coming in the field of entrepreneurship. The first ones are the adoptive, which is a very good strategy for very single or 2% or very small scale organization. So they adopt the changes, whatever is coming. And those who can predict very future, but they don't have the control, they go for the causal method, and then the companies comes up with have the very high future prediction and very high resources. They become the visionary. But if you study all those companies, they started from the effectual. Yes, at the later stages, when they became a giant industry giant, they have the major big market share, is they become the visionary. But if you study them carefully, they all started from the adoptive or effectual because they know that they cannot change the future. They knew at that time, but now they are in a position to control the future. Even right now, yes, Shriya, do you have question? You have raised the hand.
Yes, we have one question from Mr. Afzal Zamil. I need to know, I have great idea in mind, but do not feel confident enough to start. What do you do in such case?
Yes. So coming back to this is what usually people say. They don't feel confident because they don't have the confidence upon their idea. They don't have confidence upon their expertise. They don't have enough resources, or they think that the risk is high. That's the reason someone is not feeling the confident, because he is facing such thing. So don't try to become an entrepreneur over the night. Don't try to become a successful over the night. It's a snowball. You start with the very small setup. If you remember, those who were in AIT during 2011 till 2016, me and my wife, we started a halal food counter in SU Cafe. Anyone remembers that? Yes. So that was my first entrepreneurial venture, and then I have the series and two or three more in entrepreneurial ventures, and they all started with very small amount. And at that time, I remember that cafe started with 80,000 baht, and it's keep rolling. And when we ended up when we sell it to the Cambodian family, the price was around 200,000 baht when we sell it. So you always start with the very small. If you are not feeling confident, so take the limited risk. Whatever you have in your hand with the calculated risk, you small start with it. If it's working fine, then go with it. If it's not, then you are not going to compromise anything. You are not, your opportunity cost will be very minimum. But if you invest too heavily of your time, efforts, and financing, like what conventional entrepreneurial wisdom says, your opportunity cost will be too high, the risk will be too high, and that's what's stopping you. Start with the very small. Shriya, is there any other question?
Yes, there is one comment from Mr. Jeevan Majumdar. Referring to the example of COVID-19, how can someone predict the future?
Okay, that is coming in the next slide. That how uh, that's the main reason we are saying that traditional wisdom is not working anymore, in which you forecast for the next 5 to 10 years. The world is so much dynamic; it's changing so rapidly that there are many things beyond your control. Even you can't imagine them. So don't try to control and predict. Just ride with the tide. And sometimes, and there is very famous saying that I'm forgetting the author. Hmm, yeah, I recall the name. That sometimes world needs every crisis brings more opportunities. That's what effectual entrepreneurs do. They know that they cannot predict the future. The prediction level is very low. Sorry, I can't hear you properly. Can someone please repeat the question?
Dr. Umar, I think you can continue. That was just a Great.
Okay. Sorry, I didn't get the question. Can someone please repeat the question? Afzal?
Yes, the question of Mr. Jivan or someone else?
No, there was some voice which I didn't get.
No, this
It's
is
just a
not from
background
me.
noise, I think.
No.
Okay, so you can mute them if there is a no question. So if someone has question, they can raise their hand and you can unmute them. That's how we can control the noise. So how COVID is, we can handle the COVID in this situation. That's coming in the last slides. That how world is responding that. Okay, so the first question before starting, and the question which came up that I am not feeling confident to start a business, don't look at the market. Don't look outside your boundaries. Look what you have, who I am, what I know, and who I know. This is the question. So I was sharing the idea, and if you remember that me and my family started a halal food cafe counter in SU Cafe. That was a triggering option of the event arranged by the student union. At that time, I don't know if it continues or not. Student union was every semester they were about to arrange food festival, and for consecutive 2 semesters, Pakistani Student Association got the first prize, and people came to us and said, "Okay, why not you start selling your food?" And me and my wife got the idea. Okay, any community within from Pakistani community, we can start it. And the initial idea is that the families of Pakistani student families, we will ask them to cook the food, and we will sell that food at the counter. So I knew that we are good in cooking. We have the families who can cook us. So I know whom should I contact, and I had the money in which I can ask. So I had the saving of 80,000, and I knew that if I invest this and this amount go in a vein and I face a loss of 80,000 marks, it's not going to suffer my family or my lifestyle, because this is the saving or additional money I have. So I calculated my affordable loss, how much I can afford. I'm not stretching beyond my limit. So I started discussing with the families, Pakistani families, and shared with this idea. But unfortunately, they were not willing to participate. They said, we don't have the time to cook. We cannot make on the commercial basis. We cannot make on the regular basis. And I met a Cambodian family, and they said, okay, we are in a business of food, and we know all the supply chains and kitchen operations, and you have the recipe. So we combined together and we started as a joint venture. So we started interacting with the people, and we make our own stakeholder teams. And from there, we got a new means of idea. And we started thinking, instead of I, we started thinking we, what capabilities they have and what capabilities I have in my hand. So now from the single person, we have started making the team, and now we are growing at the initial level. I had 80,000 baht to invest. They came up with 1,20,000 baht, and the overall capital becomes 200,000 baht. So affordable loss increased, and again we interacted with the people. We make a target that how much we will sell, and covering the cycle of consent, and we approached to the new market and the new firm. We created a new venture. On other hand, what traditional wisdom says, they ask us to find the new market and the new firm at the start, and then go for the resources, and then set the goals, which is failing, because new markets, new firms, are you in a position to change them? Are you in a position to question them. Shreya, is there any question?
There's a question from Iram Sabha. Through
Yeah.
stakeholder commitment, kindly again explain with example. But we can do this later on with the discussion session also. If you want to continue, that's fine.
Yeah, we will have a lot of examples from Iram Sabha. She is from in Pakistan. We have a lot of examples from different various countries. So this example will come again when we will discuss the effectual entrepreneurship in detail, the principles of effectual. So right now, I'm just trying to explain you the two avenues. Either you can go the usual, in which you analyze the market, you set your goals, and you start collecting resources to achieve those goals, and then you make your operations. And the other way around is you don't look for the market, you look for yourself, what you have. Like one of very famous poet of Iqbal said in Pakistan, he said, if you want to know the world, know yourself first. If you don't know yourself first, you cannot know the world. So looking outside, before outside the world, you start looking from this, and this concept is adopted from the G 2000 in 2005. She gave this idea, and which was refined by the Saraswati in 2008. So this idea is relatively new. So now the to view the things is totally different, from narrow to broader, other than broader to narrow. So this is what you have learned in the traditional wisdom of the entrepreneurship, that you start analyzing the markets first. No, it says this is opposite. You need to know yourself first, and then you make your own stakeholder team. So the first concept is bird in hand principle. Start with who you are, what you know, and whom you know. Start looking your own capabilities, your own knowledge, your own expertise. If you try to start a business of a food restaurant, but you don't know how to cook, or you are not a food lover, there is a high probability that you will fail to run this business. If you are in a fashion industry and you are not following the fashion trends, or you are in a software engineering firm and you don't follow the technology, there is a very high risk that you will fail. So always start a business in which you have the interest, you have the skills, you know the people of that industry, and you have some resources in hand. But on traditional wisdom, they said you set the pre-goals and operations, and then you will start collecting the resources. No, it's other way around. You don't set your goals first. You first look at the things which is under your control. You are ready to lose them. Like if you have a selling, you can lose them, or you have the resources, you can lose them. So you look at them. You don't set your goals and start collecting resources. This will lead and waste your time. The second concept is avoidable loss principle, which I have already explained. Another example is that I have invested in stock market of Pakistan, which is a very volatile stock market. So again, you can't predict what will be the next economic condition of Pakistan or any other things. Now everything is doomed. So I invested almost 250 US dollar, 2,500 USD dollar, and again that was from my savings. And I knew that if I lost each and every single penny of this 2,500 USD, still my family and my lifestyle will not suffer because I have a regular income from my salary as well. So I invested there and keep rolling it. And after 1 month, at the end of the month, my transactions month means that is the July of or 15th of each month, I take out the profit from that amount and bring it this money again to like 250,000 US dollar. So I keep circulating this, and within 2 years, Alhamdulillah, I recovered all the investment which I made in stock market. out of stock market and my same amount is still rolling in the stock market. That's how I recovered. And I knew this is my affordable loss. So I'm not looking at the expected return on investment, but traditional wisdom of entrepreneurship says that you calculate net present value, internal rate of return, you calculate for the sensitivity analysis, you do all these things, payback period, and then you start your financial planning. Forget about these things. Don't consider even profit, or don't target yourself from the profit. What you do when you set your goals for the returns, your focus changes from the business towards the profit. Initial ages, forget about the profit. You start with the point that you are assuming that this business will fail, and if it fails, the loss will be bearable for me. Don't look at the point of the profit, which traditional wisdom is saying. Forget about it. You have a very long life to earn the profit. Okay, so if you keep focusing on the return on investment, by any means you will losing your focus. Don't lose your focus. At right time, just focus on your business. Forget about the profitability. The only issue, if you know that if you lose this amount of time, it will not suffer you. You will be confident. The question, the one person who raised this question that I'm not feeling confident, ask him what he is agree to lose. Ask yourself first this: what you want to lose. It can be your time, it can be your effort, it can be your money. So don't. Okay, crazy quilt principle. How many of you know the crazy quilt? It's very common in South Asian countries. Friends from Thai, do you know, or Philippines, do you know what is crazy quilt? Shreya, any response in chat box? Okay, it's a quilt. Of course, as name mentioned, it's a quilt, but it's made of different pieces of different cloths and colors and in different shapes. So what the women of South Asia do, they take all those pieces of the cloth and stitch them together and make a quilt. So if you look at the single piece of that cloth, which is apparently useless, but when you collect them and stitch them together, they become a very beautiful quilt. So I will try to share the picture of crazy quilt and at the end of the slide. So this is another principle which says build your network of self-selected stakeholders. For example, today we are sharing this idea with all of you, and I know half of you, but I don't know the rest of that. For example, Sir Gibran is here. I don't know him, but I'm hoping that at the end of this session we will be knowing each other. So what I am doing, I'm creating a network. At right time, this time I'm using the AIT network to connect my colleagues and sharing these things. Maybe at the end of this presentation or session, we will come up with a unique idea for future research, for our business, for a training sessions or something like that. Anything can come up. So I will give an example of Brahman Bank as well, how Brahman Bank started, how I transformed from an NGO to a bank, and that Dr. Yunus, we will discuss. That is a perfect example of crazy quilt as well. So when you start your idea with the business, other people around you, your friends, your family, other businessmen in the same market, there will be a point that maybe your idea will change up. You will find the new means. Your entire business plan got changed. And what traditional wisdom is saying, that don't share your business idea with anyone, otherwise people will show opportunity. opportunistic behavior. It's wrong. If you want to be in future, you have to co-create. Make your competitors your partners. Make your supply, select your supply partners. Make your business partners. Make your customers your partners. So co-create. Bring up things from the different angles and make them. I know a person in Pakistan who buys a used tires and convert them into many useful things like sitting couch, tables, uh, hangers, and even swings for the kids. He's making using by utilizing the old tires, and he's using the skill. And he is a full-time professor in a university. And this is his a part-time job and part-time business. And last time he was saying that he earned almost half of his salary, half of his family income from these operations. So what he is trying, he's mixing up the useless things together, and with the help of his students, he is selling those tire things. So you don't need to do any competitive analysis. Don't try and focus too much on your competitors. Instead of competing them with them, try to co-create with them. Make them make your partner. So instead of fighting with them, and this is my favorite most principle, lemonade principle. If life serves you a lemon, make a lemonade. This is my favorite most principle of this effectuation. That, and as earlier I said, sometimes world need crisis. So consider every surprise or crisis as an opportunity. Don't avoid them. Try to catch each crisis and surprises and try to make a business out of it. Many beer makers companies right now are making sanitizers. I know many sorry, restaurant businesses who have the home delivery services in Lahore or in Pakistan are now delivering medicines, face masks, sanitizer, and grocery items at the doorstep of the people. They just sanitize those products in front of you and leave those grocery items at your doorstep. Fully sanitized products you receive at your doorstep. And previously they were running their restaurant businesses, so they had the delivery network. But now what they have converted into an other online grocery business. So many of them are doing this. So that's how everyone tries to become use this principle. I was discussing with my rector, that is the president of my university, that within 10 to 15 days, we switched from the traditional teaching to the online teaching methodology. And we would have never done in the next 5 to 6 years, but thanks to COVID, we have adopted the technology. Now all the practices in our universities are now paperless and zero paperless, because no one is going to office, everyone is working from home, everything is on the emails and videos, so paperless. So this wouldn't have been happened if we have faced the COVID-19. And I think same is the case with many other education institutes. Now online teaching, telemedicine, each and every hospital has now their own telemedicine centers, which wouldn't have been possible in next 5-10 years, but thanks to COVID-19. And even today we are sitting and I'm looking at Afzal Jamil after 4.5 years of meeting Dr. Naveed and Shiria online. Yes, of course, because of this COVID-19, they provided an opportunity to interact with each other. It won't be possible because we all were very much busy in our daily life. But now we are together again thanks to this COVID. So lemonade principle says, don't avoid the challenges, don't avoid the surprises, don't avoid the crisis. What traditional wisdom says, avoid the crisis, plan for them, that if it happens, we will do this, and how can we avoid the risk? No, this principle says it's at most that you will face challenges. So embrace them. Don't get embarrassed from them. Embrace them. Hug them. Come and say them, okay, let's come up and we will find an opportunity. Many businesses have switched from the traditional model to the new model. Okay. Piloting the plane principle. This is again a very interesting. I will share some examples. Don't wait for the future. Don't wait for the people to do something for you. Don't wait for them. If you want to do social marketing, don't ask Ashish. Don't wait for his advice. Am I right, Ashish? Is he here or he has left? Okay. So don't wait for the people that they will come up and solve your problem. Go and do it by yourself. You are pilot of your own plan. So try to control each and everything. And this is very much related to the idea of bird in hand principle. If you know your business, you have the skills and expertise of your business. No one can cheat you. You don't need to look for the other people to come. If you don't have those skills, make them part of your team using the crazy quilt principle. Okay, ask them to come and join us, not as a consultant, but as a partner. One of my friend, she started a business of education and technological ed tech business. She's a professor, and she has very limited expertise in technology. So initially, she hired one or two software guys from her university, and they worked for almost 5 to 6 months, and the result was zero. Because at the end of the month, those guys were used to collect their salary and go. They don't care about the goals, they don't care about the business. But she did. She hired another person as a partner. Instead of two software engineers, she got only one software engineer, but as a partner. And things started working because now that person has the stake in her business. She, his stake is not limited to his or her salary. Now his future depends upon the growth of that future. So be pilot of your own business. Don't wait for people to come up and solve your problem. So these are the companies and case studies which we have, and companies on the left side, that is Amazon, Google, Apple, Disney, take a Honda even. So you know we are well known of these companies. Have you noticed one thing about these companies? Can anyone share? What's common among these companies?
Dr. Umar, we'll have to conclude your speech in 5 minutes so we can have more time for the discussions. You can go on.
Okay, so I'm going to sum up. The thing is, these all companies started from a single room, and even Upwork Foundation started from a tree, a single tree under the tree. This husk from the Indian company that started from a small village. The Facebook started from a student dormitory. These all businesses started from the garage. They didn't look for the very big structures, though these companies are very big in right now. But they all started with the very limited knowledge, and the owner, especially the owner of the Honda, they knew what they want to do and they had the skills of these things. They had the interest to do these things. So next is affordable loss principle. This is a case from the Nine Dragon paper company from the China. She started from the 5,000 US dollar, and the last year the net profit after taxes was around 3.7 million dollars. So company started from the 5,000, but she started saying the recycling business of the papers, and initially she went out and asked for the Dr. Fresha is not here. I was expecting him, and I knew that he was going to ask a question about the social entrepreneurship. So the example is Muhammad Yunus Grameen Bank. Again, this principle is also related with the Principle principle and Lemonade principle. He had an idea of microfinancing, and he wanted to develop a bank. And he had an NGO that was not a proper bank, but an NGO in which he was doing a microfinancing of $25 to $30 per family. And the return rate was above 90%. And that was the guarantee free. So one night in seminar, he was arguing with Mohit that this should be a bank rather than an NGO. And suddenly a military coup started in Bangladesh, and they were stuck in a hotel in the same seminar room for more than 24 hours. And during that 24 hours, he keep talking with Mohit about this. And the journal who became the dictator of Bangladesh, then the next week he appointed Mohit as his advisor. And because Dr. Muhammad Yunus has already convinced him that Grameen Bank should be a bank rather than an NGO, Mohit was already convinced, and that was a regime of military. Then the things becomes easy to move the files. So with the one single signature, the Grameen Bank was launched, and he got the Nobel Prize for the in this microfinance and bring glory to his nation. So that's how the link with the people that he crazy quilt. And then the lemonade. Basically, if you look at that time, apparently stocking up in a hotel for more than 24 hours when multitude is going on is then surprise and disgrace a bit for that people who were stuck. But later on, that same opportunity paid him very well. Same is Big Belly session, then you can get the concept of Mospel. It's very common in AIT, mosquito repellent. Those who are playing badminton, they use it a lot. That was developed during the Vietnam World War II, because many people were dying from the malaria, and they developed this. And right now, someone asked a question from the COVID-19. So business has transformed. The beer makers are making hand sanitizers. The 3D printers are now making ventilators. So businesses have changed. I know many people who are making the face mask. I know many people who are making right now the sanitizers, the gloves, which were not. So pilot in the plane principle, Sonia Valba, have you ever heard about her? Her mother died at the age of 58, and she saw her suffering, and then she came to know that she has the same genetic problem as well, and she will feel the same problem in her 50s. At that time, she was 27, and she shifted her career from the law. She and her husband, they shifted from the law to business, oh, sorry, medical business, and she started doing business, oh, sorry, PhD in the research in the field of pharmacy, and she discovered the medicine for the disease. So instead of waiting someone to create the cure of her disease, she created the cure of her disease. And same is the backpack. Many of you are using this. The idea was generated by the University College students. They wanted a waterproof backpack which can fit all their necessities, along with the power bank, built-in power bank. They didn't went out for someone to come to make this product for them. They made this laptop bag, put it on the Kickstarter.com, and started raising the funds, and they started making it. Then later on, this idea was copied by many manufacturers, but still they are the market leader. So this is my end of discussion. At the end, I was a bit fast because Shreya said that it's going to end, and this is my contact detail. You can all contact me later on for these examples, case studies, or anything you want to do. You're always welcome. So are we open for, floor is open for discussion?
Yes. Thank you, Dr. Umar. I'd like to invite our participants to ask any questions or give some feedback. Please unmute your microphone to speak up.
Can you hear me? Hello.
Any questions? There is one question from Ms. Iram Sabah. Should we totally neglect risk and crisis factor? As you said, avoid companies who are bearing losses during COVID-19. What do you suggest for them? Can start another new business?
No, you never avoid the risk. You never avoid the risk. You take the risk, but the difference is that risk taking is very calculated. You know how much risk you can take and how much risk you can afford. So you work accordingly to that. For example, if your saving is 1 lakh rupees, don't go beyond 1 lakh rupees. Start with your business in 1 lakh rupees and back of your mind, keep it. If you use this 1 lakh rupees, okay, so even then you will survive. You will not die with the hunger. What businesses do, they go for the financing from the banks, I know many startup ventures who started their business, the idea was very good, they got an investor, and after 2 or 3 years when I met them, I asked for them, what about your business venture? They said it's took over by our partner. That happens. You can see many companies who got bankrupt, though the business idea was perfect, the market share was there, but they were not able to meet the financial leverage they got from the financing institute. So don't go beyond your limits. For example, if you are driving your car, you know your driving skills, you know the capability of your car. So you drive accordingly. If you go beyond your driving skills or the capability of your car, you will end up with an accident. So in effectual entrepreneurship, you don't avoid risk, but you calculate it and take affordable loss, which you can take it. So it's not like that. If you are talking about business, of course, there is a risk, always risk.
Thank you. Any more questions?
Yes.
Yes, Mr. Majumdar.
Yeah. Dr. Safdar, thank you very much for your very comprehensive presentation. So my question or query is very small. That is, do you tend to generalize your principle or your discussion, whatever you said, for every type of entrepreneurs, like big one, small one, medium one, is the same one, or there should be some differences in between?
There is a difference. When we talk about the entrepreneurship, my focus is usually on the startups. Companies vary with very limited resources, with very limited. So at that time they have the limited capabilities and they don't know that they cannot change the future. So they find effectual entrepreneurship as a more successful. And when they become a giant or a market leader like Apple or Microsoft, they started with very limited resources. But when they became the giant, they went to causal method, that is the traditional entrepreneurship method, and then they started changing the world with their technology. So it's usually for the small and medium-sized enterprises. Those, and this is more effectual for them. Those who want to start their business at early stage. Yes, after 5 years, 6 years, when your business is very much grown, you can use to the traditional method of entrepreneurship.
Thank you very much.
Any
I
more
think
questions? We
more
can go for one more question today.
two people have raised their hand, I think.
No, I
Dr.
think that's yes, Mr. Sashi.
Thank you very much, Dr.
Sir,
for your very interesting presentation. I myself also an entrepreneur. I would say I was working in a financial institution earlier. But what I feel is the shifting from the comfort zone to unknown territory, uncertainty, taking risk. is difficult. How to give up that comfort zone in your. I think very nice examples. The principles you have listed that. So could you highlight more on this taking risk is quitting this comfort zone?
Yes, sir. Sir, I can understand your situation as well because I'm also in the same boat. That
Mhm.
on one hand I'm teaching, and other side I'm trying to manage my entrepreneurial ventures. It's really hard to shift from one mode to another mode. It's not easy. So that's what I gave you an example of snowball.
I see. Okay.
You start with very small, but you keep rolling it, and ultimately it will grow. Look at the example of eBay. What they started, he was a programmer. He developed the eBay platform, and on daily he had 9 to 5 job. He was doing that job, and evening he was used to write some code for his eBay, and he launched it. And every weekend, from Saturday and Sunday, he went for the camping and cycling with his wife. And it took 8 years for him to leave his previous job and give full time to the eBay. But at that time, he was sure that his business is self-sustained, and his and it needs a little attention. So his focus was sustainability. So you keep rolling your snowball, and at the moment you will feel that okay, it's now sustained, and it's giving you a regular income, and your opportunity cost from switching a financial institute and in my is very highly paid sector to a business sector will not give you damage or dent to your family life or your social life. Then you can switch. So give some time to your business. Let it grow.
Yeah, thank you very much, Dr. Omar.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you everyone for sharing your ideas. And now I'd like to invite Ms. Maria Faye Niostro Ferrios, President of AIT Alumni Association, for the concluding remarks. Welcome, Ms. Faye.
Thank you very much, Rhea. Good afternoon, AIT family. In behalf of the Asian Institute of Technology Alumni Association, AITAA, our AITAA Governing Board, our AITAA Headquarters Executive Committee, and our AIT alumni all over the world, we graciously thank the Asian Institute of Technology, especially the School of Management, for co-organizing with AITAA this forum by which our alumni can share our knowledge and expertise, not only in technology, but also in business, particularly on entrepreneurship, be it the former business as usual or the new normal brought about by this pandemic. I have been working as an IT professional for more than 40 years, 29 of those years as an entrepreneur. As an entrepreneur, I think I have taken all possible roles in an organization as a business executive, an IT consultant, an IT solutions integrator, sales and marketing executive or associate, project manager, systems analyst, programmer, mentor, student, even as janitor, messenger, photocopier, coffee maker, a paper collator and stapler. I guess you have to be willing to do everything if you are passionate about winning and surviving as an entrepreneur. Thanks so much to Dr. Umar Safdar for opening issues about entrepreneurship. As discussed today, in business, we have to make plans and how plans will be executed, monitored, evaluated, and then plan again, as in a cycle. And capital is always needed for the equipment and the systems processes. But what I have always focused on is the human capital, people. In business, we have to take care of all the stakeholders, our shareholders, our clients, our business partners, and our employees. It is really turning on to our inner channel, the WIIFM station channel. What does it mean? What's in it for me? Every proponent, every stakeholder in business has his own aspirations, goals, needs, skills, and competencies. These inspire people to work for the success of every endeavor and deliver their all. To be a leader in business, it will be important for management to identify and align the objectives of the organization with its people and vice versa. This is always the challenge. It will need a lot of honest conversation with all the stakeholders so that participation, involvement, and commitment are gained. In our jobs, our bonus is when our co-workers become our friends, our families, our network. I believe that this is an advantage of AIT graduates like us. We start as classmates, batchmates, dorm mates, sports mates. Then we become lifelong friends in a worldwide network. This redound on how we perceive and understand our markets and the needs of the marketplace. We come up with innovative products and solutions. We make work more efficient, and we make effective business plans. And execution of these plans becomes smooth despite obstacles, surprises, and challenges. So really, the human capital cannot be ignored in every aspect of entrepreneurship. Start from there and end there. Invest in the people you work with. Invest in yourself. This makes your initiatives future-proof. I am sure that most AIT alumni have their own experiences in working in organization, either as an entrepreneur or intrapreneur, as an inside entrepreneur. Let us use this forum, this connection, to communicate with each other, to share what we have worked on in our careers. Let us see how we can be entrepreneurs in the future of this new normal. May I invite our AIT alumni to contribute their knowledge and talent in these trying times. Let not this pandemic hinder us in sharing our resources to continue innovating for our communities. Thanks again to all the organizers of this event led by Dr. Navid and Ms. Rhea, and most especially our excellent resource speaker, very young, Dr. Umar Safdar of Pakistan. This engaging talk will be aired in our YouTube channel, Walk the Talk AITAA, and our Facebook pages. So please subscribe to our channels and there will be more. Stay tuned, keep safe, and may God bless us all. Good evening.
Yeah, thank you. Bye.
Thank you, Ms. Faye, for sharing your views, and thank you everyone for joining our live session today. A special thank you to our Alumni speaker, Dr. Umar Safdar, for the wonderful talk, and hope to see you all soon with our next interactive Alumni Talk series that will be on 30th of June. We will send you out the announcements very soon. And you're most welcome to register if you want to be part of these talk series. Please send in your feedback on today's session through email or our social media group. Stay safe and connected. Thank you.